Here we go. The world screwed if niggas pouring drinks like Bill Huxtable. I love R. Kelly, but around my daughters I'm not comfortable. Stand for what you believe in like Kaepernick. You either in control or you getting fucked, no abstinence. There's not enough blacks in the driver's seat like a NASCAR. Why? Because most racist people still drinking what's at Roseanne's bar. Gandhi told me to be the change that I want to see. But Mayweather told me blow my chains on a shopping spree. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. But while the world takes its time, can I get some drugs, sweet drugs? Cause when you rich, too rich, all you get is mug, mean mug. And I'm getting to that age, sweet age. I shouldn't be up in the club, sweet club. Damn. Grown shit, oldest daughter about to go to college, nigga. Least I can do is leave her with a little knowledge, nigga. Yeah, the clock's ticking, but just know that all my music timeless, nigga. Rap brought me back to restore a little bit of balance, nigga.
Going brazen in the lamb, I don't give a damn bitch for the gram. Pay these niggas no mind, try to pay attention, gotta underpay them, damn. Shit about to get ugly like shopping rings, Mr. Loverman, damn. Anytime to go speak, all the go need is silence of the lamb, bitch. Any questions, any problems, we can talk about it, we can shoot shots and switch. If the message in the bottle too hard to swallow, we can do shots, bitch. Going brazen in the lamb, I don't give a damn bitch for the gram. Anytime to go speak, all the go need is silence of the lamb, bitch.
Yeah, life's a test that X's all the losers from winners. Oh, watch me pass on that ass like Kendall Jenner. Whoa, they say between love and hate there's a thin line. I say love or hate, still no snitching, that's a 6'9". 45 tucked away in the gut. Ain't a killer, but don't test me. Cause if any nigga try to come at me or my family, then the cops is gonna have to arrest me. Catch me, fetch me. Niggas is wearing a bulletproof vest just to go outside. Innocent people are bystanders. Some are recording murders on their cameras or they on live. Social media got kids wanting to commit suicide. Cause everybody's getting scrutinized. Graham Sutton knows the truest lies. Now the parents need to be supervised. That's ass backwards. Bombs blowing from the terrorist attackers. Natural disasters. Computer crashes. World leaders clashing. Separating us into different classes. Protect the elite and destroy the masses. So all up in the hood is pistols blasting. No wonder why the hood gets no compassion. We don't have no shape, form, or fashion. Feeling like Mother Earth is mismatching. So we gotta hurry up and take some action. Or close your eyes and just imagine. Damn.
Going brazen in the lamb, I don't give a damn bitch for the gram. Pay these niggas no mind, try to pay attention, gotta underpay them, damn. Shit about to get ugly like shopping ring, Mr. Loverman. Anytime we go speak, all the go need is silence of the lamb, bitch. Any questions, any problems, we can talk about it, we can shoot shots and switch. If the message in the bottle too hard to swallow, we can do shots, bitch. Going brazen in the lamb, I don't give a damn bitch for the gram. Anytime we go speak, all the go need is silence of the lamb.
Good morning, you good people. I hope you guys had a great early start this morning. It is Friday, and let me tell y'all something. Before I got on this live, I had to go off on the ordering people again. Yes, I ordered some groceries because I don't want to go nowhere or do nothing today. So I ordered some groceries and then I ordered some breakfast, and they delivered my breakfast to the wrong place. And so I had to deal with that. So that's why I am a little bit late coming into this live. But I hope you guys had a good night rest. I hope you guys got a chance to watch my live from last night. And this morning, we want to switch gears. And they are cutting grass around here. So you all might hear some of that going on in the background. So excuse the sounds if you do hear them, okay? But this morning we are going to talk about something very, very important. And it is the mystery behind the death of Nolan Wells. Okay. I played that song, Ludacris and Lil Wayne, Silence of the Lambs, because oftentimes people always ask, why do people come out and speak about these subjects knowing that nothing's going to change? What do they expect to happen? What are they going to gain from speaking out about it? Well, there's a moral to the movie Silence of the Lamb, right? And I wanted to play something reflective of that idea. So in Silence of the Lamb, Clarice is the main character, right? And she has a subject, Hannibal. And Hannibal is a serial killer. And she's utilizing the brain of Hannibal in order to try to solve crime, right? And anybody who is familiar with the idea of the lamb, the sheep being led to the slaughter, the sheep being so innocent that they don't even know that they are being led to be slaughtered, right? And Clarice, through Outsiders of the Lamb, she sees these images. She continuously sees these images. These are traumatic childhood experiences that she went through watching sheep being led to the slaughter. And so they were innocent. They were unknowing of their fate, right? They did not know what they were being led down or led into. And they are killed, right? And that is why when you see the Bible verse that says he was led like a sheep to the slaughter, yet he opened not his mouth, right? This is the parallel between Silence of the Lambs. That a lamb is innocent. A lamb does not know that they are about to go be sheared, that they are about to be go killed, right? And so the reason why we continue to speak up about these instances occurring is because, like Clarice, she knew she couldn't save everybody, but she was able to save somebody. And so speaking up and speaking out helps us to save somebody. And we might not even know who that somebody is. It might save them through creating an awareness for them to be more aware of their surroundings, more aware of what they're doing. It might save them by helping them to be more prepared in an instant where they might be attacked because they have their guard down and they are not paying attention to what is taking place around them because they feel like they are in a safe environment. A lot of people have false sense of security, right? Depending on their surroundings and where they are and what they're used to, some people create this false sense of security around them where they just assume that where they are is safe. I know I was speaking to one of the scientists in regards to the Nancy Guthrie case, and this was a couple of days ago, and she was saying that, you know, things that she does in her own neighborhood where she feels secure, and this case kind of made her realize you are not as secure as you think. And so I was saying, yeah, because a lot of times, especially if we're used to being in safe environments, we believe that that environment is always going to be safe. And that's what I mean by a false sense of security, right? And so then there are some people who are aware that I'm not safe in any environment. No matter how secure I have been in the past, there may come a time where something might happen and I need to be prepared for what could happen. And as a result, they take measures and precautions in order to try to be ready. Readiness, right? Being prepared and readiness, right? It's no different than someone who is a doomsday prepper, right? A doomsday prepper, doomsday ain't happening tomorrow, the day after, or the day after that. Nobody is going to ask them, man, why are you stockpiling all of these cans? Or why are you out there digging that bunker in the heat? Or nobody's asking them those questions. But oddly, we just watched a black young boy by the name of Carmelo Anthony be bashed for carrying a pocket knife. And now we have this story of Nolan Wells. It's about readiness. I don't know why Carmelo had that pocket knife, because unfortunately, he didn't get on the stand and testify as to why he had that pocket knife. But now that I'm looking at the situation in the case with Nolan Wells, I hope this can help some people understand why a little black boy might have a pocket knife. They lucky that's all that he had. They lucky that it wasn't some more lives that might not have been taken out of the fear that little black boys deal with in America, right? Just because they little black boys. And so I think that while we reflect and mourn what has happened to Nolan, I think that we need to look at this alongside what has happened with Carmelo and see where, even as people of color, some of us were irrational to be questioning this little boy with this pocket knife. There were a lot of people of color who bashed and blamed, why would he take a pocket knife to attract me? Okay, it was against the school rules. We all have come to that conclusion. He was expelled for it. And that was the correct punishment because anyone who trespasses on school property with that type of a weapon, that is the consequence. But was it completely irrational that he might have a tool of that nature? Was it completely irrational that he might have felt like that based off of his surroundings and what took place all of a sudden to him, that he might feel like he was in danger and needed to do something in order to protect himself? And then the question that we want to ask while we are looking at this situation with Nolan Wells is how might Nolan Wells have experienced in the final minutes of his existence some of the same fears that Carmelo may have been presented with that day when he was under the tent? And so on my screen, that is why I chose to select a picture of Nolan Wells at a football game. Behind the football, behind the picture, behind him in the picture, you see a set of bleachers. A set of bleachers is the place in which the incident that sealed Carmelo Anthony's fate happened. Something that he didn't ask for, something that he didn't anticipate, something that he didn't instigate, something that he was presented with all of a sudden, and he had to react. And now he's been given a 35-year sentence. We're finding out now through this current appeal process that there were some things that had been during the pre-trial process that were sealed that potentially interfered with him having a fair trial, of him having a fair shot at people hearing what took place that day. And so I want us to think and reflect on that as I talk about this situation with Nolan Wells and what happened to him. And I want us to consider, why might a little black boy in America be carrying a pocket knife? Okay. So first we're going to go and we're going to read a timeline of events of what happened with Nolan that ended in his demise. Oh. Hold on 1 second. Share screen, timeline, share. Okay, now you guys, I have this in read view for me to read. I'm not sure how actually it's showing up for you guys though. I think it's showing up like it's the article, but I have this in read view. Let me see something really quick because maybe I'm sharing the wrong screen. Hold on. Stop screen sharing. Okay. I'm going to try to share again. And I wanted to put it in read view because I wanted you guys to be able to read along. But I don't know, for whatever reason, it's showing it up to you guys as I don't know if it's going to scroll down as I'm reading, but we're going to go on with the timeline. And then I have 2 videos that I want to play for you guys, and then we're going to discuss. Okay, so this timeline of events that took place with Nolan. Give me 1 second. It's coming from MSN, okay? And this is where I'm reading this timeline from. Okay. So the body of 18-year-old Nolan Xavier Wells was found in the water just off the northwestern tip of Horn Island Monday morning, according to Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter. Tuesday, Jackson County Coroner Bruce Lynn confirmed to WLOX News that the body found was Wells, according to dental records. The cause and manner of death haven't been released. Investigators told ABC News they suspect that Wells drowned, but they are continuing the investigation. An autopsy was performed Tuesday by the state medical examiner, but officials say it could take a couple of weeks to receive results, which will include a toxicology report. Jackson County Sheriff Ledbetter said the investigation is active, but asked the public to allow time for the case to develop and the family to grieve following the news of Wells' death. Number 1, give the family space and time. They are still processing this tragic event, and all of Nolan's close friends and we're still waiting for 100% confirmation, Sheriff Ledbetter said. I will assure you that the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, we're looking at this whole case just like we would any other case, and we're going to be as thorough as we can. Here's what we know about the timeline of events leading up to Wells' discovery and the aftermath and days following. On Saturday, July the 4th, Wells traveled to Horn Island with a group of friends to celebrate Independence Day. The boat left from a private dock in the Ocean Spring area, according to Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter. Wells was last seen near the island around 3 p.m., according to Jackson County Sheriff Office. Wells did not return on the same boat as the group. From what we understand, he chose to stay there, Sheriff Ledbetter told Good Morning America. The Coast Guard told WLOX on Thursday, July the 9th, that a friend of Wells contacted the agency around 11 p.m. the night of July the 4th. The Coast Guard would not disclose any other information about that call to WLOX, but said it did not require Coast Guard assistance. Wells' mother contacted JCSO Saturday evening around midnight to report that her son had not come home. On Sunday, July the 5th, around 12:26 p.m., Coast Guard Sector Mobile said it received a request for assistance from JCSO in search of a missing person in the vicinity of Horn Island. The Coast Guard said an urgent marine information broadcast was issued and a helicopter was sent to search the area. At 12:31 p.m., JCSO issued a press release saying it was searching for Nolan Xavier Wells, described as an 18-year-old black male, approximately 6'1", and weighing 180 pounds. He was last seen on Horn Island on Saturday, July 4th, wearing blue swimming trunks, no shirt, and sunglasses. At 5:55 p.m., JCSO established a common post at the Lake Mars boat launch. Sheriff John Ledbetter said multiple agencies joined the search for Wells, including the Gulf Island National Seashore, U.S. National Park Services, U.S. Coast Guards, the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, and Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fishery, and Parks. Other agencies joined in, including the Biloxi Fire Department, which had a boat out, the Harrison County Sheriff's Office, Jackson County Fire Services, and the United Cajun Navy. On Monday, July the 6th, United Cajun Navy aircraft took to the air, and just before 6 a.m. Monday, search boats were deployed again, with the last vessel leaving just before 8 a.m. Around 8:45 a.m., Sheriff Ledbetter confirmed authorities received a call reporting a body found at the northwestern tip of Horn Island. The body was discovered by a U.S. Park Service ranger. Wells' family was asked to come to the Lake Mars boat launch, where they were met by Sheriff Ledbetter and Coroner Bruce Lynn. Just after 11 a.m., the family was taken to the coroner's office in Pasquala to identify the body. Just before 1 p.m., Wells' family confirmed his death on social media. His mother posted on Facebook confirming that Wells was the person found on Horn Island. On Tuesday, July the 7th, just before 2 p.m., WLOX learned Wells' family has retained national renowned civil rights and personal injury attorney Ben Crump, calling for a thorough and transparent investigation into how Wells died. Attorney Crump and the legal team will conduct an independent review of the circumstances of Nolan's death and will press for the timely release of all records, witness accounts, and autopsy filings, a press release by Ben Crump read. Wells' autopsy took place Tuesday at the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office Coast Lab. Around 2 p.m. Tuesday, Coroner Bruce Lynn confirmed to WLOX News that the body found was Wells, according to dental records. Just after 3 p.m., JCSO issued a press release asking anyone with original photos, videos, or eyewitness accounts related to Nolan Wells or any unusual activity from Horn Island on July the 4th to contact them, and they provide the number there during regular business hours. And after hours, there's another number that they made available. Tuesday at 9:15 p.m., the mother of one of the boys believed to be at the island with Wells made a Facebook post. saying that her family is grieving with Wells's family and that she wanted to make a post to dispel some rumors with facts. Ashley Cole, a Chancery judge in Jackson County, said she did initially deactivate her Facebook account due to fearing for the safety of herself and her family. We do not believe it is appropriate for our minor children's photographs to be circulating throughout the internet, presenting potential threats to their safety, Cole said. Cole said she graduated high school with Wells' mother and that they are from the same community. I have the utmost respect for her and all of the Wells family, Cole said. We mourn the loss of Nolan with them. Our prayers have been and will continue to be with them. Cole also said her son last saw Wells around 3 p.m. on July the 4th, before leaving the island at 4:30 when the boat they were on started having issues. Nolan made a decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends, Cole's post read. Cole said her son has fully cooperated with law enforcement. Jackson County NAACP President Curly Clark told WLOX News that the NAACP is following the investigation closely to ensure no racial discrimination occurs, but he hopes people will not make their own conclusion before the investigation is through. The NAACP is going to ensure that the tragedy will be fully investigated, Clark said, but we do not want anyone to jump to conclusions before the facts are known. On Wednesday, July the 8th, attorney Ben Crump told ABC News Live Wednesday that Nolan's body will be flown to Washington, D.C. for an independent autopsy. Crump also said investigators from his team are conducting interviews with witnesses. Results from the independent autopsy are expected Friday, Crump said. So hopefully we will get some kind of update today. Let me check back in with you guys over here. Okay. Hopefully we'll have something today, okay? Some kind of update. So on Thursday, July the 9th, Ben Crump sent a press release revealing that a press conference is scheduled for 11 p.m. Central Time this Friday in New York, where he will call for a full, transparent, and urgent investigation. Crump will be joined by the Wells' family and Reverend Al Sharpton. We're still asking for information. If anybody has anything, any knowledge, Sheriff Ledbetter told GMA. If you have any questions, contact JCSO at 228-769-3063. We will update you on air and online as new information becomes available. So I'm going to read you really quick the statement that was made after they located Nolan's body and the statement to the news after he was found. Okay. Wells played football at Ocean Spring High School and Southwest Mississippi Community College. We are devastated by Nolan's passing, said Jake Bramlett, Ocean Springs head football coach. He was the kind of son, teammate, friend, and student that every coach hopes to have in a program. Nolan was so much more than an outstanding football player. He carried himself with humility, treated others with respect, worked hard, and led by example. His character spoke louder than his accomplishments, and he was loved deeply by his teammates and coaches. Our football family is grieving alongside Nolan's parents, families, friends, classmates, teammates, and all who loved him. Nolan was a remarkable student, teammate, and brother, said Ocean Springs High School principal Dr. Jacob Dykes. He will be remembered as an extremely kind and hardworking young man who left a lasting impression on his teachers, coaches, teammates, and community. Our thoughts are with his family and the many people he made a lasting impact on around him. The entire Southwest family is heartbroken as we mourn the tragic loss of Nolan Wells, said Southwest Mississippi Community College President Dr. J. Stephen Bishop. We remember Nolan as a well-respected young man who was very popular amongst friends, faculty, and staff. We love Nolan, and he will be greatly missed in many ways. Our continued prayers will be with the Wells family now and in the days to come. Professional counselors and local ministers will be available to assist teammates and friends as they return to campus on Monday. May God lead and guide all involved during this difficult time. And so that is the end of that article. So right now, what we have is a missing 18-year-old high school graduate just entering first year into college. He went on a boat trip to an isolated island in Mississippi on the 4th of July with a barrage of friends who were not of the same ethnicity as him. Nothing wrong with that, right? Nothing wrong with that until this happens. And the judge, who is the mother of one of the individuals who last saw Nolan, doesn't deem it appropriate that they're kids. Now, they're not kids. We just saw how they bastardized and ran Carmelo through the mud. Same age. Same age. Charged him as an adult. Put him in jail for 35 years. Right? But this mother of these individuals who are no longer children, they are children. Not according to what everybody else has been saying about Carmelo. Now, to me, I believe they're kids. They're still kids. But the way the childlikeness and protecting the innocence and the youthfulness of Black youth is frowned upon. Everybody wants them to take accountability as adults even before they become adults. But now you have this mother that is stepping in on behalf of her son, who is over the age of 18, who happens to be one of the last individuals who was seen with Nolan prior to his death. And she doesn't deem it appropriate that the picture that Nolan took with his friends prior to his disappearance is being spread over the internet. Not appropriate at all. I find something wrong with her thinking that it's not appropriate as a judge, as people who are calling for additional information that may be seeing a picture of the last individuals that this boy was with before what happened to him happened, might give some insight or might trigger the memory of someone who could provide additional details of what they saw that day. But you don't want it on the internet. How convenient, right? And so now I want to play a brief clip. Let me stop sharing that one because I don't think y'all were able to even see that anyway. So right now I want to play a brief clip just from the news release of when Nolan went missing. One second. I got to work stuff up to you guys, so hold on. I just want to make sure. Okay.
Growing for answers about the death of a Mississippi.
Okay, wait a minute.
Calls are growing for answers about the death of a Mississippi teenager. 18-year-old Nolan Wells went missing on the 4th of July. You see him here. He was on a boat trip with friends going out to a popular barrier island near Mississippi's Gulf Coast. Authorities say Wells did not return on a boat with those same friends that afternoon. 2 days later, Wells's body was found. No cause of death has been given. The Wells family has hired attorney Ben Crump, who says they have sent the body for an independent autopsy and expect those results tomorrow. Let's get to NBC News national correspondent Aaron Gilchrist, who joins us now. Aaron, this has gotten a lot of attention on social media. People are posting lots of videos. What do we actually know about the circumstances surrounding his death?
Well, we know that the Jackson County Sheriff's Office says that there is still an active investigation going on. It's only been 3 days now since Nolan Wells' body was found off Horn Island, that barrier island off the coast of Mississippi. And at this point, investigators say that they're still trying to gather information. They still want to, they've talked to many people who were on the island. This is a popular place that people go to by boat during the holiday season, the 4th of July holiday. And so investigators say they're still talking to people and they're still trying to gather more information. They've asked the public to share with the sheriff's office any video or photos, specifically asking for unedited video or photos, which may be slightly different from some of what we've been seeing online, where people have tried to enhance audio from what they say was an argument that may have been happening on one of the boats or on shore that people have suggested Nolan and his friends may have been involved in.
Now, look at how the judge called for these teen boys not to be faces, not to be plastered over the media. Look at how now they are blotted out everywhere. Look at how the photos are blotted out. Look at how the release of Carmelo Anthony's video was protected and safeguarded of what happened the day of the incident of that fatal tragic stabbing of Austin Metcalf. Now look at how these boys' faces are being protected. Regardless of what the judge thinks, that's the mother of one of the individuals who was last seen with the victim. They are potential suspects in what may have taken place that day with Nolan. They are persons of interest until they are cleared. And when you have individuals and persons of interest, generally, there is some bulletin that may be out there could say, if you saw this person the day of the event with this person, can you please call us in with any more additional details of what you may have seen or what you may have heard? But all it took was for the mother, who is a judge of one of the boys involved and was one of the last individuals seen with Nolan Wells prior to his death, to say that she didn't deem it appropriate. And now we are looking at images where the faces of individuals who are potential persons of interest are blotted out. Individuals who may be suspects to what took place with Nolan Wells that day are now blotted out for the public not to see. None of this was taken into consideration when we've seen other situations that looked suspicious and were being investigated and we needed to look at. Like when we looked at the disappearance of Kanika Jenkins in those videos, they showed those young people's faces, right? There are many a times when we've seen videos. There was a situation with a girl here in Baltimore who she went to go cut hair at a hotel for a hotel party and she went missing. And when they showed the video, they didn't blot out any of those young Black individuals' faces because they were the individuals who were last seen with the person who ends up dead. And so people in the public being able to see who these individuals are important in order to be able to make a report back of what they may have seen between the individuals who were last with this person. But all it took was for the mother, who happens to be a judge of one of the persons of interest, to say that she doesn't deem it appropriate that their faces are on the internet. And now we are looking at images of the blotting out of the faces of individuals that could be of interest in this investigation.
Sheriff's Office not verifying that. At this point, the family has hired Ben Crump, as you noted, the civil rights attorney, who says that the family just wants urgency and transparency in this investigation. He pointed out that Nolan is Black and his three friends who were on the boat with him are white. And he said that law enforcement in Mississippi has a history that has made the family want to reach out to him and is part of the reason that they're asking for that increased transparency. I do want to share part of the statement from the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, where they say, we recognize that a significant amount of information, speculation, and commentary has been shared on social media and throughout the community. As with any active investigation, our investigators are working to establish the facts through eyewitness accounts, physical evidence, and other reliable sources. Kate, as you noted, at this point, the state has not said what it found in its autopsy, and the family of Nolan Wells is having an autopsy done separately by Ben Crump's team. We expect to hear more about that tomorrow when there's a news conference scheduled where we understand the family will appear, Kate.
All right, Aaron Gilchrist for us. Aaron, thank you.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
Okay, so I wanted to share. Oh, you guys, hold on. Oh, I know what happened. I don't think y'all could hear, but I could hear it. I'm like, what is going on? Okay, so you guys, let me get rid of that so that those don't come back on and I don't make a mistake and show y'all some things you shouldn't see. But I wanted to bring that so that we could kind of get like an idea of what and try to keep up with what's happening with this case, right? What's happening with this situation. So today we anticipate that we will have some kind of press conference with the parents, with Ben Crump. Al Sharpton will be in attendance. They are saying who else might be there, but we know that the body is being flown to Washington for an independent autopsy to be done. We know that the parents are going to be present at a press conference or later today around noon with Ben Crump and Al Sharpton, other community leaders. And we know now that the individuals who may be persons of interest right now, their images are being taken off of the internet because one of the individuals, one of the children, or one of the I don't think that they're all children. I think Nolan is 18 years old. And according to the law and what, how they judge Carmelo, he was 18, he's an adult. So these individuals, a lot of them probably are adults. They're over the age of 18 and their faces are now wiped away from the internet and the picture is taken off of the internet because one of the individuals who happened to be with Nolan the day that he went missing determined that their parent determined, who's a judge, that this is not appropriate for their faces to be on the internet. Forget the information that could come in by having their faces on the internet that could bring this investigation to a close. Maybe they will be cleared. Maybe by people seeing their faces, they could be cleared from any kind of suspicion that may arise from what ended up happening with Nolan this day. But the idea that Nolan was a great swimmer and that he drowned that day doesn't sit well with a lot of people. Okay. And so I want to play this morning, Nolan's parents, they spoke to Good Morning America, I think, or the Today Show. Is this the Today Show? The Good Morning America. They spoke on to Good Morning America. This is their first release this morning. And I imagine that it's in anticipation for the press conference that will be later today. So I'm thinking that their legal team, this is part of their strategy to have the parents come out and speak out on a major morning show this morning ahead of the press conference that will be later today. So let me share with you guys so that we can take a look at that. Okay, can you guys see okay?
Wells. We're joined by his parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley. More on the mysterious death of Nolan Wells. We're joined by his parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley, as well as their attorney, Ben Crump. And before we get started, first off, I want to thank you for being here under these circumstances. I know how extremely tough it must be, and we can express how sorry we are for you and your family. And first question, how are you two holding up?
Taking it second by second.
Day by day.
Second by second and day by day, which we all can understand. And I just want to ask you, the friends that Nolan traveled to Horn Island with, they say that he stayed behind voluntarily. Why would he stay behind?
That we cannot answer. I can't fathom why he would.
I don't know why he would. We always taught him to, if you go with a group, you stay with a group. Mm-hmm. Even when he was in college, he would say, Dad, well, we're gonna ride down to a party or something in another city. Now, so I was telling him, look, if you go with 5, you come back with 5. Do not separate from your group. Because I always say safety is in numbers. Mm-hmm. And he always said, yes, sir. So he knew to stay with his group. So why would he split from his group? I don't know.
So that would have been unusual for him to split from the group. Yeah. And you said he would always check in with you. Did he check in with you that day?
So that day, no, I don't. But of course, too, they were on the boat. And usually when he is out there, which it's not uncommon, he's, I think, since last year, he's been going there occasionally with his friends. And so it would always just be like, hey, Mom, I'm back, type of thing. But this time there was no call or text from him. It was from his friend.
And then, too, really didn't worry a lot about it because, it was his last weekend to have fun
Yeah.
because that Monday he had to report to school. We was preparing to take him back for camp to prepare for the season. So, you know, we're gonna see. He wanted to have his last little hurrah before he locked down and get ready for the season. Because, like I said, the entire summer he's training. He got more serious. He started to understand what I was trying to tell him about football, not just being fun, but as you get farther in it, it becomes a business. If you want to excel, and you have to understand, and have to understand both at the same time.
And we know, Ben, that you said that you're going to do an independent investigation.
Yes.
And you say you have Nolan's cell phone and messages were deleted. How could you tell messages were deleted?
Well, his parents got the phone back, and that's something that's important, Michael, because they track this phone on Life 360.
So Life 360, but when I received the phone call from Warren, I immediately called my friend Tashima and I said, hey, have you guys seen Nolan? Because her two sons, Jalen and Javon, like they grew up together. They played City League sports together. When they got into school, they played sports together. And so she was like, hey, like, okay, the boys were pulling up the location from Snapchat. So the Snapchat location looks completely different than the Life 360 location. So when I pulled up Life 360, it was different. It was showing everywhere the phone had been. Like I was like, well, it's showing that he's back on land. Like I'm not. He's like, but no, he didn't come back with us.
Well, how were you able to get the phone?
So we tracked it, and my friend Tashima went and picked it up.
It wasn't like they said we got his phone. They tracked it, and that highlights all these contradictions, Michael. The fact that they said Nolan was talking to a young woman and she said that he said, I'm going back to get on the boat with the boys. The boys said that he said he was going to stay with her. And so that's an obvious contradiction. And then this video of this, you can hear an argument going where Nolan is saying, give me my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing? And so then his phone ends up missing. I don't know any teenagers, Michael Strahan, who says, if you believe that story, I'm gonna stay behind and I'm gonna leave my phone. I mean, no young person leaves their cell phone. And so then there's so many things their parents were telling us about. Even why didn't his body wash up with the tide on Sunday? Why would it come on Monday? It's not adding up. And that is the problem when you think about the history of Mississippi.
Yeah, so there are so many questions that need to be answered. And is there anything you'd like people to know about Nolan? What would you like them to know about your son?
No,
okay.
Nolan, take your time. Nolan was very loving. He was liked by all. It was not a friend that he couldn't make.
No, we'll be right back with more for the parents of Nolan Wells and attorney Ben Crump. We're back now on GMA with the parents of Nolan Wells, Christina and Elmore Wansley. And I want you to please continue to tell us what you want the world to know about your son.
So Nolan was just like this bright light, right? Walk into a room, his smile, his energy was just so infectious. Like it's almost like he drew you into him. And he was just one of those people, like he always wanted everyone to be included. He didn't want anyone to feel left out.
Yeah,
I remember
I
one of his teachers emailing us. I can't remember what grade he was in, but basically it was math class. They had a special needs student and she asked a question and Nolan got everyone to put their hands down because he wanted that student to answer. And so student answers the question and she was like, Christine, the classroom, Nolan went crazy and everyone else started going crazy, just celebrating that child. Making them feel included. And that was the person he was. Like he loved everyone. And I always told Nolan, like, you have to be careful when you have such a big heart like that. I love that God blessed you with that, but you have to be careful with that because, that it's not always returned, that type of love. But he was just genuinely a good person. Like I always say, all the best parts of me
false sense
are
of security,
with him.
not realizing that you might need to do something to protect yourself and your surroundings.
It's just, he's going to be really missed. I know a lot of his teammates, they all look to him as a leader. He's more like a silent leader. Not real big on words, more action, which is kind of like I was. I really wasn't real big on talking. I really wanted to show you and you follow me, and people followed him. And it's gravitated. He put in the work, he worked hard, and he knew he was focused on what he wanted. And he wanted to make life better for, his family. He wanted to have his own family. He used to say, Dad, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to build this. I said, well, son, you got to take it one step at a time. Slow down, let's walk this thing out. Let's train, let's sign our deals, let's make these teams, make these camps, put the work in, and everything else will work out. Even his baby brother, their bond got even stronger, because now I have a big brother that he's finna do something. So now I want to outdo that. So his focus and his confidence has got even better. So I was looking forward to both of them having outstanding years.
Seasons,
It seemed like he inspired in the home, and he inspired outside of the home. And Attorney Crump, where do we go from here? What's next?
Well, the deleted messages that Christina was going to briefly touch on, we want to get the phone and figure that out.
Backtrack on that. When we finally got his phone, me and my sister went through the phone. We went in his Snapchat. He had 2 accounts, absolutely nothing. It wasn't even 24 hours, which is how long videos and pictures stay in Snapchat. And I was just like, that can't be. Like, I've seen Nolan whenever he snaps, like when he goes and he's having fun, like he does videos. Like, there was absolutely nothing, no saved videos. And even my sister was like, yeah, that's suspicious,
Michael.
Okay, I want to stop right there. Right? I want to stop right there. As I told you, I want us to look at this in the backdrop of what just transpired with Carmelo and what we are finding out what happened during the pretrial phase that got in the way of potentially Carmelo having a fair trial. So right now, Nolan's mom is saying that no evidence, nothing. Once they got a hold of the phone, nothing, they couldn't find anything in it. The fact that his phone was found in the first place is crazy, apart from him, right? They talked about that earlier in this clip. But this is reminiscent of the fact that when the authorities in the Carmelo Anthony case claimed that they took the phone of one of the individuals involved and there at the time of the incident with Carmelo, that he had his phone up as if he was recording what was going on, but he was just pretending to record. And when that investigator was questioned about did he find anything additional in his phone, the investigator said, no, I don't think I saw a video in his phone. What? Like, these kids record everything. Why would someone be standing, and he testified on the stand that he stood there and he was in a posture as if he was recording, but he was pretending to record. And then one of the investigators, one of the detectives in the case, confiscates the phones of all of the young people underneath that canopy on those set of bleachers that day. And the officer doesn't know whether or not he saw a video in the boy's phone. The boy testified he was standing in a posture as if he was recording. But no video? You didn't check? You didn't look? You're not sure? That's your testimony? Right, exactly. He was definitely recording. And so these kids and Nolan's mom said something so important. They record everything. So the idea that the first thing that officer didn't do was to check once he confiscated all of those kids' devices. What was the purpose of you confiscating the devices of the kids on the bus? If you weren't going to check to see if they recorded, you said no kids. Exactly. Exactly, Tears. And so now we have another instance in this situation with Nolan, where his mom gets a hold of his phone, a phone that should not even have been confiscated separate from his person, but was. And now there's nothing on the phone. And the mother is sitting here telling us that he records and snaps and photos everything. And the fact that there is nothing there, there is something suspect about this. I wanted to just stop a minute and say that because that's so important. That's so important, like, for us to understand, trying to erase history, trying to erase what is happening. But this mother, who happens to be a judge of one of the individuals who was one of the last people to be seen with Nolan Wells prior to this tragic event occurring, all she had to do was get out and say, I don't think it's appropriate that our children's faces are being plastered over the internet. And now we are looking at blotted out faces, blotted out images that may be important to us finding out what happened to Nolan the day that he died.
We having an independent autopsy done at the behest of his family. Colin Kaepernick helped pay for the independent autopsy. We flew his body up from Mississippi to D.C. because they wanted an autopsy done by a person with no interaction with the Mississippi law enforcement, because there's an issue of trust here that is really important. And the fact that they keep trying to say, we're suggesting it was a drowning, but nobody out there reported him drowning, it's not adding up, Michael Strahan. It is not adding up.
And honestly, we are doing this because at the end of the day, I would hope any parent would fight for their kids to find out if anything happened, what did happen. So we just want honesty and transparency. We want a thorough investigation. We want that same respect that would be given to anybody else, and that's it. We just want answers.
Well, we really appreciate all of you being here. We hope you get the answers that you deserve to have.
Right, Just be right. You're right. There are some, because I did find one photo where the faces are not blotted out. But that's why I played the news clip prior to the one news clip that I played prior to this one, because I wanted to show that. I wanted to show that all it took was for that mother, who is a judge, to say that she don't want her child face on the internet, and look at how it was responded to. And like you said, and yes, they are all over 18. They all are over 18. And all of these people are persons of interest into the suspicious death of this person. And so to think that it is reasonable to blot their faces out, like I said, there in no other situation was this. Well, let me not say that, not in no other situation, but we can count situations where we know that faces of young people were not blotted out because they were potential persons of interest in an investigation. When we look at all of those individuals who were in the situation with Kanika Jenkins, their faces were not blotted out on the video. Like I said, we just in Baltimore had an incident where a girl, we still don't know, it's still a mystery, where a girl went to a hotel party. She went there to go cut hair. She was a gender non-conforming person, right? She went to go cut hair at a hotel party, and she ends up missing. And they did not, when they showed the video of all of the people going into the hotel, going towards that room, who was supposed to be in attendance at that hotel party, they didn't do anything to protect their images on the internet. But all it took was for this mother of one of the individuals who is a person of interest to speak out and say she does not think it is fair that their children's faces are being plastered all over the internet. And now every major news station is blotting out the images of these people who potentially know what happened to Nolan the day that he died. This is crazy.
And we hope you get the closure that you need. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Mike.
for having us.
Okay, you guys. So that's what I have for now. So let me put a picture of this baby back up here. So now we know. I want you to look at those bleachers. I want y'all to look at them real good. I want y'all to look at them real good. That's behind Nolan Wells. Because those bleachers that are behind Nolan Wells in this picture that we are now reflecting on the death of this boy, this mysterious death of this boy that is now being investigated, they tell another story. And they tell a story of why a little black boy in a predominantly white town in America might have the need to carry a pocket knife. Let me see, Tears. You said that just shows how this case will go. That mother, exactly, Tears. Exactly. And it is the reason why I selected this picture of Nolan to show. Nolan felt safe. He felt like he had no need to be worried amongst his friends where he was. He thought everything was okay. And maybe we'll find out that this just was a freak accident. That this was something horrible that just occurred. And that maybe all of these individuals who were around or present or in proximity to Nolan that day had absolutely nothing to do with what just tragically happened to him. But right now, it is suspicious. There is some mystery behind it. And if nothing else, it gives us some understanding of why a little black boy in a predominantly white area might feel the need to have some protection. Something to protect themselves from what could happen. Because not everybody is walking around with a false sense of safety. Some people know that there are dangers here in the world that they could face. And they want to be prepared for what those dangers are. And whatever was going on with Nolan that day, whether the danger was that he didn't have on a life vest when he went out, he knew how to swim well, so going into the water wasn't a factor. Was there something with the weather that caused there to be some type of ferociousness within the water at that time that may have caused this drowning? And maybe that's why Nolan didn't have a good handle on the tides that day. We don't know what could have all contributed to this. But what we do know is that Nolan was in the presence of 3 white boy friends prior to his death. They reported back that he decided he wanted to stay behind on the island with some girl and that he didn't want to return with them. The girl reported back that he went and got on a boat with his friends. Then his friends end up with a cell phone. His body ends up found washed up on a shore somewhere. This is suspicious. And no matter what, it is the reason why their faces should be on the internet. So that we can get closure to what is going on. You said drinking in the sun is extremely exhausting. It could have just been from that could be the case. If there was some alcohol involved, that could be the case. Like I said, it could be an accident. But the fact that they left, if that was the case, and if Nolan drowned while they were out drinking, just being good old college kids, good old young, just being boys, right? If that was the case, they left that island knowing that that happened to Nolan. And they presented a story as if they did not know what happened to Nolan. And for that alone, it needs to be looked into. And their faces should be made available for anybody in the public who might have some additional information that one of those faces might trigger what they actually witnessed that day. But we are seeing that in this instance, that is not the case. And yes, we do have the picture. Once the picture is put on the internet, you cannot take it away. But we are seeing media sources respond to the call of the mother of one of these individuals, and they are blotting out the faces of these kids. I call them kids, but hey, according to America's standard, they're not kids. We've seen what America has done to kids of their age. But now these quote unquote kids are being protected from their faces being in the media because their mother, who happens to be a judge, said that she feels it's not appropriate when we are looking at the death of a young man who, at the least, there's some suspicion, there's some mystery behind. At the least. And so I wanted to come and talk to you guys about that. There's a press conference that is supposed to take place around 11:30ish, and I will be tuned into that. If we get any new updates on what's going on at that time, I may come back and talk to you guys some more about that. Right now, I am going to end this live. Just VTs, thank you guys for coming in. We are going to keep monitoring what unfolds with this situation, and I will be back to talk to you guys soon.
Southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. Pastoral scene of the gallant South, the bulging eyes and the twisted mouth, scent of magnolia, sweet and fresh. Then the sudden smell of burning flesh. Here's a fruit for the crows to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rot, for the tree to drop. Here's a strange and bitter cry.